You. Well, I would like to welcome our general public and parents and all that are have tuned in to listen to us on this May 17th regular board meeting for St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic School Division. We'd like to apologize for the delay, 5 minutes delay due to some technical issues. But we are now here. We'd like to call the meeting to order at 1:35. Then we'll have an opening prayer, and I'd like to ask Pastor Tabu to lead us in prayer.
We join me in a sign of our faith. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. O Lord, we give you our worries and concerns. We ask for your guidance in the word today. You see it all, the outer circumstances, the inner turmoil. We know that you understand our lives, and that sometimes our hearts weigh heavy with troubles, and we struggle with making decisions that will affect our students and staff. Right now, we lay all these things before you. We breathe in, safe in the knowledge that we are held by grace. We breathe out, knowing that we are secure in your arms, and we wait on you. For you are all truth, you are overflowing love, you are a beacon of hope and a fortress of faith. Lord, we choose to be attentive to your voice. May we be alert to your Spirit's guiding as we journey on here. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We move on to 1.3, and I'll read the treaty acknowledgement. We are a party to Treaty 6, and as such, we wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground for many indigenous peoples. We recognize the diversity of the First Nations who have, at one time, lived across the territory, as well as the presence of the Métis Nation. So, shall we have any public forum? We ask for the approval of the agenda. Any additions? Yeah, Trustee Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to remove the title of 5.3 regarding the division budget approval.
Okay.
And change that to a special meeting of the board on May 30th at 3 p.m. for the purposes of considering the proposed 2023-2024 budget.
May 30th at
3 p.m. Virtual.
Virtual. Thank you. Any other additions? The changes made. Can I ask for the motion?
I move that the board approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Any discussions, comments? Okay. Now call the question. All in favor? Carried. Minutes of the regular board meeting on April 19. Ask for the motion. Oh, have a question?
It's about the minutes.
About the minutes.
Would you like the motion first?
Motion and then. For the motion. Yeah, Mr. Leonard, go ahead.
I move that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting held April 19, 2023 as circulated.
Thank you. Now we'll open it for discussion and questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think it's on page 8 of the package on motion number 90. Was there not?
Page 8. Motion number 90. The board make an amendment.
Yeah, was there not two opposed to be noted under that motion?
Yeah, there was two, oh, no, one needed a name recorded and one didn't need a name recorded. That is
Okay,
why,
thank you. I
yeah,
just wanted that clarification.
Yes.
Thought it was your commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I see none. Let's call the question. All in favor? It carried unanimously again. So item number 3, that's the board priorities. This is for your information. We'll move into the executive reports. Board chair, I didn't attach reports. Simply have a lot of emails that are forwarded. For operational reasons due to the wildfire, EATs, and we all do know the election mission calls, so the ADMs are doing a lot of this communication here for operational reasons. Yeah. Any question? We will move to 4.2. Superintendent report is attached. Questions, comments? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Under faith leadership, number 1, bullet number 6.
Number 6.
New provincial Catholic resources for outcomes in physical education and wellness. Is there an area that trustees can access what that is to learn more about those resources?
So that is some work that's been done provincially by the Grant Committee to assist teachers in embedding and permeating our Catholic worldview in those curricular outcomes. So I'll make a note that we'll forward that to trustees as information. That works.
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions about 2, building effective relationships, and bullet number 10 about the evidence-based citizen parenting support program called Parent Connect. My question was, it's at Christ the King. Was this for high school students for when they, or was it for the students and their parents? Is this directed for the students?
Right, so I'll have Assistant Superintendent Cardinal speak to that.
No, it was for parents. It's a parenting course.
It's for the parents of the student.
That's correct.
I wasn't sure if it was for young parents.
No. It just occurred at Christ the King, but it is for parents in Star.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a list. I appreciate your patience.
go ahead.
Number 3, a modeling commitment to professional learning, bullet number 4, in regards to CARC or Central Alberta Regional Consortium. My question in this regarding the science curriculum implementation pedagogy session is ERLC or Edmonton Regional Learning Consortium not providing those, or is the implementation of new parts of the curriculum being split up between the consortiums?
So as a division, we participate in both consortiums. So depending on where the sessions align with our timetable and schedule, that's where teachers participate. But both are involved in curriculum implementation.
So the Alberta Regional Professional ARPDC, so whatever that stands for, Alberta Regional something. That's the umbrella organization for CARC, for the learning network, etc. And they are coordinating provincially who's offering what. So they are working in tandem.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, that was part of my question. I was just wanting to make sure that there was opportunity for involvement for all, I guess, around the province.
All right. Another question? Good.
Number 4, bullet 3. What is the Alberta Framework for School System Success? not aware of.
So the Alberta Framework for School Systems Success, I have shared this with trustees in the past. You may recall in my evaluation, we spoke about the CAS framework of research best practices. This is what it's the formal name. So it is research best practices to move school divisions forward. So the Superintendent's Council is a group of principals and directors that meet to provide feedback in each of the areas. You're welcome.
Okay.
Number 4, when you're talking about utilizing social media to recruit for recruiting, are you talking about the websites for Star Catholic and the websites of the different schools? Or are you talking, say like Facebook, TikTok, like is it just?
So that, yeah, that we use a variety of social media. So we do advertise on Facebook, we do post on Twitter sometimes. So it's a combination of things.
Instagram.
Not really.
But certainly on the website.
Yes.
Thank you. Curious.
TikTok.
No.
TikToks?
Okay.
No, any dance moves? No.
Okay, good. All right. There are no. Okay, right.
Number 3.
Okay.
Number 5, bullet 7. A conference day for educational assistants. I'm just interested in hearing more about that.
Sure. So Lori and her team put together a wonderful day for EAs, which includes some keynote speakers and sessions. So if you fill us in a little bit about that day.
Yeah, I'd love to. It was a wonderful day that was spearheaded by Chris Bureau and supported by Tina Young. Just Tina being new to the role, she wasn't quite ready to take on that kind of a project. It was a wonderful day, and it was basically grounded in trauma-informed care. And we had a variety of excellent speakers. They collaborated with ERLC, who helped to bring these people in and coordinate for the day. EAs, so there were keynotes, but at the beginning and at the end of the day, and in the middle, there were different sessions that people could attend. I spent probably 3/4 of my day there, and it was excellent. I had a wonderful day exploring the different sessions, and I took away some information and some inspiration as well. So it was really well received. The feedback from educational assistants was beyond positive.
It's exciting to hear that there's the support for EAs in this.
For historical reasons, this was an intentional support that we provided because we do understand that the EAs are the backbones in the support of teachers. And if the teachers do all of these sessions, professional sessions without EAs, it's not fair. And
Well,
provide that support.
and this was specifically geared to their work, to support their work. It's a little different than teachers,
Yeah.
and so and they really were asking for that. From our surveys that we did receive the feedback that they wanted more PD that was directed specifically to their needs. So, yeah, so we're planning for next year.
Yeah, excellent.
My last.
Yeah.
Oh, but at number 6, I was just fascinated to see that you met with the Indigenous leads from two other divisions, Wild Rose and Jasmine Public, to connect and collaborate. That sounds excellent. I assume our Indigenous coach was there as well. Did quite a bit come out of that, new ideas, things like that. Who was it?
No, it was actually Amanda, and we did discuss it. I did not attend those meetings, but part of her role right now, and she's doing such an excellent job in connecting with other school divisions, with Musquechies, with elders, with anyone that just can help us to build that Indigenous portfolio and to help to continue the good work that we're already doing at STAR. She said that she got some great ideas. She got some wonderful ways to help to structure her work as well, because the person that is in, I think it was Wetaskiwin, I believe, has been there for quite a while. And also just to explore, because with Wild Rose, it's a little bit different. The Indigenous community in that area is a little bit different than where she comes from. She lives on Musquecheese. And so she's making connections that way as well, so that she can help to support that community. So, yeah, she's said it was very, very positive. So,
I just think it's such a great idea. to
Yeah.
Connect like that, share ideas from different divisions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, yeah.
Thank you. My last two questions are on number 7, the last two bullets, 14 and 15. Attended ISSP webinar, just an explanation what ISSP is.
Sure. Go ahead.
oh boy, I don't know what it stands for. So
Integrated Services Support Program.
oh, good job. All right, thank you. So many acronyms. And yes, so basically it's a program where we've been chosen as Star Catholic to house, not just in Star Catholic, but to collaborate with other school divisions in Wetaskiwin, so with Wetaskiwin Public, to provide supports for students who need extra support. So the program involves there's a police officer, there is a psychologist, there's a variety of supports that are in place to provide wraparound services for students who are in need. And so I did speak with Wetaskiwin. The reason why I can't exactly articulate is because we're both a bit confused, and the province hasn't been completely clear as how is this going to roll out. But the premise of the program is excellent in the sense that rather than taking these kids out of their community and taking them to Casa House or to I don't know, the Stollery or wherever, that these supports are provided in-house within the community.
This was a program that started in Calgary with the Calgary Police Service and I think it was Calgary Public. And then the province has taken that model and is implementing it in various communities throughout Alberta.
So if I'm wrapping my head around it, this is something we've talked about, that if you have 2-3 school divisions, why not provide a common resource, right, to hold and support everything in that community, especially the high risk students in our care that move from one school to the other, right? If I'm wrapping my head around this, which is a very good model, right? It's decentralized, locally managed and protected. Then people are not lining up, like you said, for Casa House or Red Deer Youth, listing for all of these services.
So it's just to bring the services to them
Good.
rather than plugging them out and putting them somewhere else where it's hard to get to, or they have to stay overnight, or those kinds of
And
things.
there's a lot of barriers if they can't drive and all of that. So, Fatima, go ahead.
Thank you. Now I have a follow-up to that from the last question, but so is this item what the government announced regarding the mental health classrooms in communities, or is this something aside from that?
I think that would be more with the CASA classrooms,
Yeah.
that they're going to be, which is a separate item than this.
Okay. So my last question is on the last bullet, met with administrators, feedback, plan strategies on spending, literacy, numeracy. So my question here is, what came of that? Is the information in the education plan, or is there more to understand in that area?
I think this is hot off the press, I should say. Lori and I even just met about it here a couple of days ago. But Lori, why don't you give them an overview of the two components, the new curriculum and then the literacy
Sure.
supports that were.
Sure, so we did receive some, what they're calling grant money for these two initiatives, for curriculum implementation and for learning loss, essentially, which is what we're saying is literacy and numeracy. Right now, I've given 2 options for each of these, so under curriculum and under literacy and numeracy, and they're talking with their staff and deciding which options that they're going to choose. Essentially, it just looks at how many sub days, what kind of supports do they need, where's the resource money going, that kind of thing. And so that's still just in the decision phase right now, but we're close. Is there anything specific you wanted to know about that, or?
I'll maybe just add a couple of things related to your question about is it in this plan? So in the education plan, you'll notice that the province is now requiring that we report on our literacy and numeracy assessments in the younger grades. So that is in here listed as a measure. And I can speak to that when we go through the document and show you where that is specifically. And then the curriculum implementation, you'll see that webbed through the document in a couple of different places, both in the RTI goal, as well as the supporting teacher capacity. So you'll see it in more than one place in the ed plan related to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just curious, it's in number 5, the last bullet. What does praying and cover?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Lori, do you have a sense of that? It's the second last bullet there, number 5. High school students, led sessions for high school.
I don't know. That's a good question. You should ask Claire, because she led this, yeah.
Okay,
Would you like us to get back to you on that?
I can ask Claire one day with this.
Okay.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you for all those clarification for to support the work. Administration does. Okay, Mr. Laka. Talking about money. Comments, questions from Mr. Laka to clarify? Yeah, go ahead.
This is just a comment, attending Father LaCombe at the school grand opening. April 21st was a wonderful day. It was so nice. I thought it was. Lots of people. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Okay, so 2 questions in this area. First, regarding the FOIP. Does our division receive a lot of FOIP requests in a year?
No, probably in the last 6 years, an actual official FOIP request, we've only received one.
So that is a normal process to report how many, that's what that's asking is how many.
Yeah,
FOIP
Service Alberta annually asks all school boards to report on the number of requests they received, the status of any that are carried over from year to year. Well, not so much the status of the individual, just the number that are carrying over, number that have been concluded. It's just to report, I think, to wrap up on eventually what it looks like in terms of the number of requests.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's not necessarily on the report, but regarding this area. In April, the board approved moving money for capital reasons regarding modulars at Father Leduc and the CTK outreach movement. I'm just looking for an update or follow-up, I guess, from that.
Okay, for both of those items, one is that we're finalizing the plan for the move of to CTK of the outreach. So we engaged an architect to start getting that process done as quickly as possible. The second one with regards to the modulars at Father Leduc, we haven't heard anything by the end of April about modular approvals. So I did a follow-up phone call and email reaching out to the department to say, was it delayed because of electioneering going on or elections going on? Or was there an approval letter kind of in process what was the status of our request? What they responded to me was that our request for 2 modulars have been denied. And then provided further clarification that on this round of modular approvals, if a school was not at a minimum of 114% utilization, there was no modular approval for that. Father Leduc is currently expected to be at between 101% currently and moving to about 103% based on its projected enrollments for next year. So that'll be something that long-range planning committee will have to consider in terms of what that means for the school operations and maybe what resources we have within the division to accommodate capacity issues.
A follow-up question, do we have space at Honolulu? As to my understanding, I'm not sure. If we have
You're
enough
talking physical space on site.
If we have another modular in there,
Yes.
we do,
Yeah, we would have to branch off to the northwest.
and take out the PA.
We would, there's a I don't know if you recall the school, there's a basketball court in the back area, the modulars would go in that direction.
At all. Okay. Well, any other? So, on facilities management, John use plan in the last bulletin there with Beaumont regarding the selection for assistance when developing a drawing. Where are we with any update on the JUPA?
Campus, well, we've got. I got a reach out from the city of Wetaskiwin just recently. Not through an unusual channel, because it was actually a referral from Wetaskiwin Health. So I've not been able to respond back to them in terms of the process and their involvement. City of Beaumont is taking an unusual in terms of how I've been relating with other municipalities. They've actually looked for an external consultant that they are supporting in terms of costs to develop it, so that staff with the city of Beaumont remain impartial to the process. They don't guide it or anything like that. And because there are four entities involved, 3 boards as well as the municipality, they felt that was a better way to approach a JUPA with the Francophone Board School just coming onto stream and being somewhat of a new partner in terms of the legal aspects of the joint use of planning agreement. City of Leduc is, we've got aspects already in place. What they're formalizing right now is more on the facility planning side. We'll have 2 agreements, not a single one, that cover both aspects of the joint use of planning requirements of legislation.
Which are facility and which,
Well, we've got the planning side, so that's the determination of school sites, the apportionment of school sites, and then there's the actual use of facilities and how we interact in terms of our use of municipally owned facilities and how municipal organizations, however they're defined by the municipality, has access to our school facilities. Okay, so that's the 2 aspects of all JUPAs, is to cover both of that. But in terms of the city of Leduc, we've already got a very strong program and agreement with regards to site allocations and site development. So what we're looking at is keeping that as a separate agreement and then developing joint use. Our joint use and facilities are very different than Black Goals with regards to the city of Leduc. So we're not doing a tripartite agreement, we'll be doing one-on-one just with this city.
Thank you so much for this clarification. Go ahead, trustee.
So Ed, would it be safe to say that school councils really don't have a say in the joint use?
How, in what way?
Well, one of the school councils sent a letter asking that it's not go ahead, basically. So would they, so in other words, I guess they wouldn't have any weight, or it's not really their sandbox, is that correct?
Well, a joint use agreement is how facilities are used between the municipality and the school. So it's what is our philosophical approach to the use of our facilities within the community, as well as the use of municipal facilities. So that has to be covered. In some respects, it might be very limited in terms of scope. It might be very broad. Certainly for, let's say, Wetaskiwin, for example, the school board, the public school board there has a number of facilities, fields, and things that are under their control and management and maintenance, and they have a much more extensive agreement with the city of Wetaskiwin because of that. Our agreement, let's say with the county, is going to go very, very restricted. It's unlikely that we will build a school or have joint facilities available for them to use or for us to use. But we still have to go through the legislative process to do. My thought is if it is school council has strong beliefs and they should be working through their administrator. I've asked for all the school principals to give me their feedback on terms of what is available for use. Some of our schools want to limit community access for a variety of reasons. One is for the simple fact of replacement of equipment if it's damaged. Put provisions to collect. They just want to avoid that situation. In other cases is because of a working relationship. There's also concern about whether the community users as defined by the municipality is too broad. And we want to maybe look at restricting and not having as broad as definition as the municipality. So try and take that into account when we work through the channel of the census industry.
That's the honor.
I was just thinking about it.
Lacombe, now I think, the city of Lacombe, we've been working over a past year, and I think they've had some issues internally as well as kind of finalizing the process. Lacombe County, we've had an agreement essentially to the final stages. What we're looking at now is the different approval processes. You, the board, have viewed this as more of an administrative agreement, and so our approval process will look different possibly than both Wolf Creek and municipality. So they're working through those processes before it's finalized, but in both cases, we've got strong agreements developed. It's just where they are now, and I believe County is in a or Lacombe County is in the process of doing the municipal. Thank you.
All right, so thank you for the update on Jupiter. As we all know, it's a legislative process, and depending on the community and what we have in there, we have some communities that we don't have many to share or many to much to offer, right? So it's all going to be looking different, and we as a board have agreed that administratively, but after that, the board chair will put on his signature, and then we have complied to the legislative agreements as proposed. Okay, we will move on to action items. Yes, action item. The kindergarten calendars. 5.1.
I can speak to that, Mr. Chair, if you would like, since Assistant Superintendent Malloy is not here.
All right. You want to put a motion on the floor, then you walk us through it? Yes, Trustee Leonard, go ahead.
I move that the board approve the 2023-2024 kindergarten calendars as presented.
Thank you. So shall I go ahead, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the kindergarten calendars simply follow a month after the ward calendars that were approved by the board in April. So they're just an outline of the days at each site as proposed by administrators. So they are in adherence to the main calendars. There's not really much there that's different than what you've already approved.
When the brother and sister are able to come to school on the same day, good. All right. Any questions or comments in regards to? This is just a paragraph what we have put in the past. Okay. If there are no comments, then I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of the kindergarten calendars? Right, carried. We'll go 5.2. This is a nice document. Yeah, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I have someone put the motion on the floor? Then Mr. Richard walk us through it. Okay, go ahead, Trustee.
I move that the board approve the 2023-2027 education plan as presented.
You. Okay, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll just walk through the draft document that you have before you in hard copy. I'll just start with the title page. So you will notice that this is a term plan. That is an option. Divisions can do term plans or a revolving plan. So Star Catholic has used a term plan for many years now. So this is a 4-year term plan, so it goes from, in essence, this May it comes into effect, if approved today, through to 2027. So that's the first thing that I'll point out. And then I'll just kind of walk you through the document. So looking at the 3rd page and the top of the 4th page, that is just a little bit about our context and history. All numbers have been updated with current enrollments, etc. So that is updated information. There are accountability statements, superintendent, board chair messages that are quite standard. The trustee profiles are unchanged. Then I'll ask you to go to page 11, and I'll just mention that we did highlight the extensive engagement process that we undertook this past school year to get feedback from all of the stakeholders listed in the top half of that page. And that is what has guided the board's priorities for the next term. In the bottom half of that page 11, those are the regular channels and feedback loops that are in place in the division on an ongoing basis. Moving to page 13. So just by way of a process on what went into updating this education plan. So the board priorities, goals, and outcomes, those have been changed in minor ways for some goals, for example, the faith goals, and to some major ways where there are new goals in this plan. But in each of the goals, whether they were changed in small ways or large ways, we also had to look at the measures, which are the survey questions for each of the areas, and determine, okay, well, we need to measure that goal and outcome. So in many instances, we had to rework the survey questions. Then the strategies are, in essence, year 1 only of the 4 years. So the strategies are primarily focused at next year. Some of those strategies will continue year to year, but when tasked with this work, Lori and her team really take the approach of, okay, what are the strategies for next year? Then they also do some background work in the year 2, 3, and 4, high level work, but that's not reflected in here. It's typically just year 1. The section, for example, on page 14 called professional learning, that is the work that we're going to do with our staff to bring the strategies to life so that our measures and ultimately the outcome and the priority are met. So this is kind of how each of these categories flows. So there's the board direction through the priority outcome. We say, okay, how are we going to measure that? Sometimes it's anecdotal listings, survey questions, that kind of stuff, and then it goes into strategies and professional learning. So I'll have you go to page 22. If you could. And page 22 is domain 2, student growth and achievement. So under this is a provincial domain. You will see that there are board priority and local goals. So for example, on this page, mental health and well-being is the priority. That's a local goal. And that's why it's listed as such. Again, you'll see the typical format: measures, strategies, learning. Turning to the next page on 23, now you see same domain, student growth and achievement, but now we have a provincial goal, TATs, diploma exams. And then this is to Trustee Miller's question earlier in the meeting about the literacy and numeracy assessments. On page 24, you can see there's a new provincial goal around early literacy and numeracy. So there, you can see there's an outcome, a bit of background. You can see all the ways that will be measured. Those are criteria outlined by the province that are new to us. So we have to list the assessments, how many students are identified at risk, how many months behind grade level are the students. So that's what will be measured. And then the strategies to address that is down below, and then the professional learning that will be utilized to most impact the learning in those areas. So that is a whole new section. Moving on, page 25 and 26, those are priorities from the province, again, that have been long-standing. We tweaked the strategies and learning to always move forward where we deem fit. As well, on page 27, you have student learning engagement that's been there for a few years now with the province. Domain 3, so this is the piece here. Again, I'll talk to trustee Miller's earlier question. So on page 28, if you look down at the bottom under strategies, you will see reference there in elementary teachers to curriculum and the implementation of that curriculum. So that is reflected in the plan and our strategies around moving the new curriculum through those grades. Mentorship for new administrators is also highlighted on page 29, as well as EAs. We just break down the strategies for each of our employee groups. 30 is a continued goal. Now I'll draw your attention to page 31. On page 31 is the new board priority on staff, and they're being supported in their wellness and the outcome associated with that. So if you look at the measures, you can see that there are 4 ways that we will survey staff to measure the impact next year. You can see a bunch of strategies, and they're primarily broken down into 3 areas: social, emotional, and physical. And that is the way the board chose to rate the goal and the outcome. So the strategies reflect that. And then the professional learning associated with impacting that staff wellness is listed at the bottom of page 31. On page 32 is an Alberta education provincial goal. There's no change to that. Domain 4 is First Nation, Métis, and Inuit students are successful. What I'd like to highlight on this page is in the measures section, I would like to draw your attention to number 1. And that is that the Indigenous stakeholders will be engaged on what is valued as success within their community for additional measures. The feedback we had from stakeholders this last round is that we need to not only measure the provincial identified areas that the province says is important in this area, but what is important to this group of people? Just so into Indigenous students and families, what's most important to measure? So when you look at that and you look further on page 34 in the strategies, you will see that there's a lot of consultation that will be undertaken next year. We're looking to establish a committee, and I'm just going to try to find out which bullet that is.
Contact list.
Sorry, Chair, what did you say?
You want the contact list of the elders?
That not necessarily, although we will consult with them on that. Let me just find this here.
Strategies.
Yeah, the first one on strategies.
Yeah.
Right, so there's a mention there of consultation. And then there is under being, you can see where it says create stakeholder engagement groups. So that is groups that will consist of elders, caregivers, parents, students, and Indigenous staff. So they're going to form kind of a bit of a working group to help us move this goal forward. So that is new as well. A lot of that is from the feedback that was provided through the consultations. Turning to page 36. This is a new board priority and outcomes. There's 3 outcomes there. So this is all to do with response to intervention, and then a focus on through assessment, identifying supports through tiers 1, 2, and 3. So tier 1 again being quality core instruction, tier 2 targeted, and tier 3 intensive instruction. So all of those things will be kind of rolled through a number of strategies in professional learning, specifically related to assessment and how to support students on their journey, including gifted students. Domain 4 learning supports on page 38. That is the continued goal from the province. as well as page 39. Domain 5 governance. So we do have some measures here that are mostly provincial, but they also tie in nicely to the consultation and the loops that I spoke to earlier, feedback loops that I spoke to earlier. Moving through page 40, we have the budget report, capital planning, IMR listing. Those are just live links that lead people to where they need to go. Page 41 are a little bit of a breakdown of how the resources are allocated based on the domains listed in the plan. And then on page 43, Secretary Treasurer Locke has done a nice job in the last 2 years of really presenting some nice visuals here that are easy to understand for us non-accountants, which is always helpful in these kind of documents, so it doesn't get too technical. And then on page 44 is a listing of where people can find more documents, administrative procedures related and supplemental. Page 45 is a listing of schools and contacts. And then lastly, we have the listing of senior administrative staff and the division's contact information. So I hope that kind of provides a little bit of an overview. I really want to thank Assistant Superintendent Cardinal and her team. Really put a lot of meat on the bones of these goals and priorities, kind of bringing them to life and providing a roadmap to us as a division for next year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or to have any feedback at this time.
Thank you very much. Any question, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Fantastic job. Thank you very much for that. There's a lot of detail in there, and I'm really happy to see that the engagement that we've had over the past year in different ways helped create that. But I have to ask this question. This being a 4-year term report and with an election limit, what happens to the provincial goals if that provincial mandate or the direction in education changes?
So the provincial goals will always move and flow accordingly. We have no say on those. They're mandated. So if they were to change the provincial goals, we would have to adapt the plan. The local priorities and goals, we're hoping that those don't change over the 4 years, but the provincial ones, they have the authority to make those fluid and we would adapt.
So it would just be more cost on staff to recreate, to rebuild and re-research, re-implement.
Yeah.
So the last time of those have happened as a witness was through ministerial orders, a little bit here and there, especially if they wanted a gigantic change in and something, but if not, that's the only time that I've witnessed some of those, but if not, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that for now, though, we'll be working on 4-year implementation plans behind the scenes. So this is really just a snapshot for one, but we will have implementation plans for the following years so that we know where we're going and we know how we're getting.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a very small clarification question on page 3, the second paragraph. At the very bottom, it says for the 2021-2022 school year, our division must saw an increase in enrollment climbing from 4,068 students to 4,687. And then it says in year 22-23, enrollment grew to the exact same number as before.
Yeah, that is a typo. Thank you for pointing that out. Trustee Leonard will address that and get that corrected for posting the official document. Thank you.
One look at it differently as we've seen an issue that was
We do know that that's the right number of students for now.
for us.
So we've got to get the numbers previously correct.
All right. So there are no, okay, go ahead.
Really nice document, very colorful. And which churches
The St. Michael's
in Ladue?
in Ladue, yeah. That's the background.
Welcome is beautiful with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And in the past, this used to be very dry until the province changed it in the last 4 or 5 years.
21.
That we change into these colorful pictures.
Well, that's all Caitlin's work. The design of this document is credit to her and her creativity. I'll take no part of that. I'm challenged by a stick man.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, very enjoyable to read. All right, so there are no further questions. I'll just call the question now. All in favor of the approval as presented? All right, carried. Okay. Do you want to keep going or take a break? Okay, let's do this one last motion here, 55.4. That's special, 5.3, sorry, 5.3. Yeah. All right, I have someone for the motion. Yeah, go ahead.
Does the board approve the budget for 2023,
No,
2020?
meeting, special board meeting.
Oh. Sorry.
But it's on there.
Jumping ahead.
It's on there.
Sorry, we don't need a motion, we just need to provide notice.
That about hold a special board meeting, okay, put the notice out there then. Okay, put that. That's that would just read out the notice.
That the board will hold a special board meeting on May 30th, 2023 at 3 p.m. It's to be held virtually to consider the 2023-24 division budget.
So that notice is being shared with our public. Okay. And what time is it? 2:30. 2:30? Let's take 7 minutes. Yeah, 7 minutes, come back at 2:35. Quick stretch and then finish it off.